Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. Oh, I'm excited about this show. This has been in the work for a few weeks now. So back a couple weeks ago when I bought that Gerard, a lot of people corrected me on my pronunciation, that Gerard changer turntable that we reviewed recently, I also picked up this. Now, you may be saying to yourself, it's an Akai 70s era reel-to-reel machine. And you're not incorrect in saying that, but there's something major that you're missing by stopping there, because this thing packs an amazing surprise, something I didn't know that they actually did, something I didn't know that existed, and it turns out this is a pretty rare unit. So anyway, let's check this out. You guys are not gonna wanna miss this.
Welcome to Record-ology.
Now, as we proceed throughout this video, I want you to keep one thing in mind, $20. That's what I paid for this. I got it at the same garage sale, although I think I saw it on a Craigslist or Facebook marketplace listing, that the lady that had the Gerard turntable that we reviewed recently. And both of these came out of what she described as a custom cabinet. So I'm not sure what that was like, but this is a freestanding unit. This is an Akai X-1800SD tape recorder from 1970. I've accumulated now a few of these tape machines, and I'm just, fascinated by this technology. I think it's wonderful. This one, as I alluded to, has an amazing surprise, and I'd be curious, how soon you guys pick up on what that is. By the way, before I open this up, check out this tag on here. This was made in Japan, so I don't know if that's an original manufacturer's tag. It still says inspected B, and then there was a tear off at one point, but that's just really, really cool. It's been on here all these years, assumedly, so I'm going to leave it on too. All right, a couple latches on the side, and the big reveal, or I should say the first big reveal. I haven't cleaned it up. I haven't tested it. I have no idea if it works. What I can tell you is this thing is an absolute boat anchor. So heavy. There is a lot of metal here, more than you might suspect at the outset. And again, when I give the big reveal as to why this is unique, you will get an idea of what I'm talking about. It does have the manual right here, and even an accessories box, which is just absolutely fantastic. So let's take a look at this unit. I'm just going to kind of walk around it, look at all the different switches and features, and I'm going to give you the big reveal on the big surprise, and then we're going to test it out, see how it works. I'm kind of glad that it's an Akai, because I'm starting to learn my way around Akais, and even though you may have different models, there's a lot of similarities. So we're going to just kind of talk about this one and learn about it together. I have not gone through this yet, so we're going to learn together. We're just experiencing this together. So this material is metal. It is in a wood case, pretty typical for the time. I mean, from a design aesthetic, that's what they liked in the 70s. Tape speed, low and high. We've got the spindles right there and little spindle caps to make sure that the tape is stuck on there tight. My GX4000D has like the little spring-loaded ones that self-lock. This one does not, so you have to use these. Although I suspect if you were using it in a flat back configuration where it was laying down, you would not have that issue. We have an adjustment here for, I think, 50 hertz or 60 hertz. I'm guessing that's what that is. I'm not 100% sure. This needs to be wiped up again. I haven't done anything to this whatsoever. Let's look at the transport controls. So from model to model, the actual switch or button may change a little bit, but what it does and where it's located is usually about the same. This does have the very typical situation where these are not. The little tightening screw is missing, or actually it is there. It just needs to be tightened. That's good. A lot of times those just get lost, but it's a typical clunk chunk kind of adjustment. I would much prefer logic controls, and I think that's one thing Techmoan said about the TX is he had the logic controls. I would definitely prefer that. Going down the line a little bit here, we've got the famous Akai external pinch roller. Let me scoot this up a little bit so we can see it a little better. A lot of oxidation rubbed off onto there. This unit has definitely been used, but if it's anything like the Gerard turntable, it will have been taken care of. So we're going to take some Windex to clean off this pinch roller, and the pinch roller is not in terrible condition. It seems like it's fine. It just needs to be cleaned. It has shrunk a little bit. There's a little bit of a divot to the, it's not completely flat across the top, but it doesn't feel hard. It doesn't feel brittle. And right here, we've got the tape tensioner, and over here, we've got the cap stand. Obviously, the cap stand will have a big flywheel behind it. Let me zoom out a little bit. There'll be a big flywheel, big metal flywheel back there that will drive that. Based on the fact that that is such a small pinch roller, I'm wondering if there's going to be a capstan sleeve to change speeds. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe this one just has a speed select. Not sure what this guy is. Interesting. Not sure what that is. So this unit does feature the famous Akai cross-field recording system, which basically adjusts the bias to give you a better recording. So that's a good thing. And this will be interesting. I have not looked at the heads whatsoever. It does have this really cool thing. Sometimes on some of these decks, this actually is a speed adjustment. On this, it's the track layout. So if you want to go in a 3-2 configuration or 1-4, you can pick it like that or put it flat for stereo, which is what we'll be doing. And that'll be a typical quarter track stereo. Super neat. Now let's see if we can take a look at the heads. I am not sure. That doesn't seem to hinge up. I know some of these, it was actually difficult, if not impossible, to get a hold of the heads directly without taking some stuff apart. I love my other deck, how you can just, they're exposed on the bottom. Okay, so that loosened that, and it's just sort of a hollow metal piece. Try not to lose that screw, and we should be able to see the head. So let me reorient this thing on its back, and we'll take a look at those heads. It was a pretty advanced deck for the time. I mean, it featured silicone transistors. I mean, this is a deck that I would say was obviously consumer grade, but at the same time, it was probably prosumer grade, I would think. Okay, so this is a fascinating head layout. We've got, and a guess here, not telling you 100%, but I'm thinking this is the erase head, this is the playback record head, and this is the bias head, which is very interesting that the bias head would be on the opposite side there. I think that that's absolutely fascinating. It looks like this has not been opened up and cleaned in quite a while. So I am going to be using my Crosley Groove Goo, as I always do. And as you can tell, I've already picked up a lot of junk with this, but it's perfect for this. I will still need to go in there, and because there's fuzzies and crap down in there, I'll still need to go in there with isopropyl and properly clean those heads. But I want to get a head start, because even though it may not really impact the performance to have all the gunk in this thing cleaned up, I think that it will definitely make me feel happier about things. I just like it to be cleaner. So anyway, that's helping a little bit. It obviously needs a lot more to it, especially some of these areas and whatnot. But you can see the layout of the heads. Very interesting. Another thing that I read somewhere is that you can take, by the way, that is a 1 micron gap head, but you can take your fingernail and gently run your fingernail along a head. And if it feels like there's a ridge or it feels like there's grooves in it, that may be an indication of a worn head. But if it's smooth as glass, then, that means the head is still in good condition. However, doing that on my glass ferrite heads on the GX4000D, it feels very stepped. And when I looked at it, it feels very jagged, I should say. It seems to be the design of that particular head not to be completely smooth. So that may not be 100% accurate. While we're here, we got the mechanical tape counter and then tape guide right here. But this is really interesting. This little device here looks to be like a tape head or a tape cleaner. And it's like this padded material here. And as you can see, there's a lot of oxide built up on there. And I'm thinking that that kind of helps clean the tape as it goes through, preparing it for contact with the heads, which is really interesting. Yeah, those definitely need clean. So very interesting stuff. This is a fascinating deck. There's the record button. as you can see there. And let's go ahead and look while we're down here. What do we have? We have the volume and tone control, the two feature knob, I guess you would say. So the inner part would be volume and the outer part would be tone. We've got the EQ. This is a 3-speed deck, but it has a surprise in that regard. It's actually a 4-speed deck. There was an optional kit, stay tuned for more, where you could put a different pinch roller on this thing and it would do 15 inches per second. 15 inches per second was pretty much studio grade. And it's pretty uncommon on a 1/2-inch consumer deck like this to be able to do 15 inches per second. Typical would be, you know, the 7.5, 1 7/8, 3 3/4, et cetera, et cetera. It does all of those. And each one requires a different preset on EQ to get the maximum benefit from that speed. Obviously, the slower you go, the lower the resolution. So it's important that the EQ is adjusted for that. Over here, we do have a pretty basic and simple looking VU meter, but it's going to be a left and right channel VU meter. We have the power switch, just a mechanical power switch right there. And have you guys figured out the big surprise yet? Like, what is this? Cartridge 1, 2, 3, 4, selector, transfer, cart, reel, what? Microphone inputs. What am I talking about? What is, you guys have figured it out by now, right? While we're at it, might as well go ahead and clean these heads. Just a cotton swab with some isopropyl alcohol. I'd like to get the little foam cleaning tips because this can snag and leave behind little pieces of cotton, which obviously is not ideal, but if you're careful, it's usually fine. And you want to use Windex when you're cleaning the pinch roller itself. You don't want to I mean, it will work, but it's best not to use isopropyl. It has a drying effect, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all of this stuff off as we go. And like I said, I just want it as clean as possible. Not obsessively, but decently clean. Okay, I got it cleaned up a bit. I mean, it's absolutely filthy. It needs more. It needs more cleaning, but it's getting there. It's interesting how it's got kind of these like orangey, yellowy areas, interesting oxidation. I feel like this might have been in the sunlight for some time. The wood is in pretty good condition, as you can see on top. So, all right, let's take a little tour and then the big reveal. So on the sides, this does have built-in speakers, which some of these Akais did. It's got one on each side. It's going to be a pretty wimpy speaker, but we'll give it a listen. Moving it around to the back side here, we've got a fan vent for the motor. This is surely a belt-driven single motor unit. Crossfield Akai X-1800SD. We've got the fuse. We've got a remote connection. Let me get closer down there actually so you can see that better. Got the little switch over 50 hertz and 60 hertz. So that's where you would switch between 50 and 60 hertz. I wonder what that thing is on the front. Let me know down in the comments below. We do have speaker connections for 8-ohm speakers, obviously an RCA in and out, and some sort of DIN connection. So very interesting, very, very interesting indeed. Let's look at the patent strip. Interesting to see all of the patents registered and pending for all the different countries. Pretty interesting. It's another good shot of this sort of grain structure on the back, this wood cabinet. I don't prefer wood cabinets. If I had a choice, I'd pick like a black on black one. But again, when you're dealing with this era, this was a very common design aesthetic. Also want to point out the feet. So down here, we have two mismatched feet. So I'm not sure if, it looks like there was this collar piece just broke off. Yeah, I can feel it. It's the plastic is broken off the edge. But if you look at the other feet, they are taller. These ones are about twice the height or distance of these. That way, when you have it in a flat back configuration, it's still angled in a little bit. Kind of gives you a little bit easier access to controls. Okay, so here's the big reveal. And I didn't realize this until I got it. I never knew this existed. But there is an 8-track recorder built into this thing right there. So yeah, this is a combination reel-to-reel and 8-track machine, which is fascinating. This is definitely, I mean, this is all metal. I mean, this definitely is adding to the fact that this is just so incredibly heavy. We do have the other speaker up here with these little flaps on it. Down here, we've got the speaker on and off. Also, stereo headphone jack. This is all very nice. the way, oops, you can't even see it. This is all very nice the way this is laid out. But yeah, headphone jack and the speaker on and off. And then if we zoom in a little bit here on the 8-track portion, you can see the head in there. There's no flap. I don't know if there ever was. I kind of think not. Auto stop and continuous play mode switch on the back. And then we've got a little diagram here on the side about inserting the cartridge as illustrated. So that's very odd. To me, that's very odd. And maybe you would say, oh, yeah, that was fairly common, but you just don't see these very often. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's fairly rare. So now these controls down here make a little bit more sense. This is actually a fairly typical selector for 8 tracks to play back different tracks, the 4 tracks of stereo, which make up the 8 tracks, 4 times 2. And this is essentially a mode select. Well, it is. It says mode selector. So you want to do cart for 8 track, reel for tape reel. And then this allowed you also to transfer your reel to reel to 8 track. And they even provide you a tape, which is a great segue to the accessory kit. Let's take a look at that. It's really not a bad deal for 20 bucks, right? So now I can show you the manual. The reason why I didn't show you earlier is because it gives away the 8-track piece of it. But isn't this cool to have the manual? Very, very neat. This is really cool. This is cool. It shows the tape layout, the track configuration, etc., etc. Very, very neat. Yeah, this is cool. This is a lot of fun. So I was blown away by multiple things when I got there, not least of which was the 8-track player built into the side of this, but also the fact that they still have the accessories pack. This is something I would venture to say you never see. And it's the original Styrofoam accessory kit. And what do we have in here? First of all, we do have this pinch roller, which I'm guessing is the 15 inches per second adaptive pinch roller. Interesting. Look at that, how there's a ridge on the side. Maybe that's what I was feeling on that other one. Maybe it isn't, deformed, because I thought there was like kind of a cupped effect, like it was worn. But maybe it's just this little ridge. So that's interesting. We've got 2 microphones. Look at that, Akai. That is so cool. Heavy too. So we've got 2 of those. So you can do stereo recordings. We've got the stacker spindle from the record player we reviewed recently, which is good that I came across this again. So I wasn't 100% sure it was in the box. Look at this. Looks like a little, are these replacement pads for those? Remember that little tape cleaner thing? These might be replacement pads for that. And then a bottle of probably isopropyl that's all, tape cleaning oil. So I don't know if that was really an oil or just isopropyl alcohol, but a cool applicator. We've got spare fuses. You never see these kinds of accessories still existing. Never. What is this? So it looks like this is actually related to the cartridge on the Garrard turntable. So got some accessories kind of mixed up here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out our video. It's doing pretty good. A lot of people have watched it, which I'm thankful for. Okay, what in the heck is this? I have no idea what this is. And I think there's 2 of them. And these fit into this styrofoam. So I'm thinking this has to do with the reel-to-reel. What is this? I have no idea. What are these for? I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say, because you'll know. They do supply a take-up reel. Akai branded plastic take-up reel. I still need to get metal take-up reel. I would love to have that. A couple more clips. This may be a capstan sleeve. It looks like it. I think this might be a capstan sleeve. So perhaps this is to facilitate the 15 inches per second. That would make sense. And then right here, we have an 8-track cartridge that they provide in its box still, unlabeled. I do think it's used, but look at this. This thing is beautiful. Yeah, it's used. They've labeled it with the different songs they've recorded on there. Very cool. Yeah, super neat. And it's thanks to you guys that I got into 8-track as well. Otherwise, I'd be looking at this like, what? I don't want that. But I do. I think it's cool. I think it's very, very cool. All right, so we got a lot of toys here with a lot of accessories. Let's just see if we can do some basic functionality. I'm going to hook up the unit, and let's listen to some tape and maybe even try to make a recording. Okay, Threading the tape was a little bit trickier than I thought. These little cups, you kind of have to push them pretty far in, and then they kind of snap on. And you can see the rubber on the edges is cracking a little bit. So this may be best in a flat back position. 7.5 inches per second. Tape speed switch to high versus low. That's kind of interesting that you have both. Oh, that's EQ. So this is just EQ. So 7.5 inches per second. High mode. Okay, I've got a tape loaded up here with some Enoch light. And let's just start by playing it. So this will be our volume control. I'm going to start with it kind of in a low position there so we don't blow ourselves away. To play back, look at how confusing this is. Play, record, reel or cart, fast forward, rewind. So let's just start by hitting play. We have reel selected down here. And I guess I should probably turn it on as well. That'd probably be a good idea. That's a selector switch, not the power switch. All right. Making sounds that it should. We got a light on the VU meter. That's good. This is just ambient. Let's give it a listen. And it's not making contact with the pinch roller there. So I wonder if I need to put that pinch roller sleeve on. So let me try doing that. I meant capstan sleeve, but yeah, that did fit on there perfectly. So that's definitely what that was for. All right, powering it on again. And here we go. All right, so the take-up reel is not working. That's a problem. Dang. It just didn't spin. Yeah, the supply reel was fine, and then this one didn't. So, oh, there was this maybe? Come on. Boy, that doesn't, okay, there. Maybe that? There we go. Fixed it. Yes. And let's see if we get any sound. Okay, I've got sound on the left channel. And I don't hear anything on the speakers. So do I need to, let me check the speaker switch. Yep, okay, so that was that. Let me flip that back down. I'm guessing that that's 15 inches per second. So let me put that to low. Interesting. So, both the speakers sound maybe a little bit distorted, a little bit blown out, but they work. I mean, they do work. The right channel, I might need to get, these are real stiff. I mean, these are really stiff knobs. They take a lot of force to turn, so I may need to deoxit those in the future. This is going to be a work in progress. We're not going to cover all of our bases here today. I just want to do a basic functionality test. All right, so reel to reel works. And with this capstan sleeve, I can do 15 inches per second, which is pretty crazy. So it's kind of in a 2-speed configuration. It's in both, 7.5 inches, which is the low mode right now, or 15 inches per second. Very, very interesting. So I wonder, this must be the pinch roller. You can see it's a little bit smaller compared to the other one. This must be the one for 1 7/8, 3 3/4, and 7.5 inches per second. Very interesting. All right, let's test out the playback of the 8-track. Okay, so I'm going to switch the function switch to 8-track. I'm going to insert my cartridge. And I hear it doing something. Okay, whoa. Come on, get out of there. So it started spooling tape. So that was unfortunate. Why is it spooling tape? Maybe I have to take the reel to reel off, because yeah, check this out. I totally did this to my tape. So maybe I need to rewind this even though it's in 8-track mode. Very interesting. Just a newbie here, guys. Just learning this stuff. So let's see if I can... Okay, that was bad to do. Don't do that to your tape. Oh my gosh, that was dumb. Okay, I should be able to rewind it now. Once I power it on. Wow, that's fast. Very, very fast rewind. Well, I'm glad it doesn't need belts. That was my first thought when it was unspooling that tape like that. All right, so without tape threaded, and I'm in cartridge mode, let me put the cart back in. Here we go. I'm gonna try it again. I think this thing needs some grease. Change tracks. Wow. Doesn't sound too good. Wow. That's rough. So this thing probably needs grease. It probably needs to have old grease cleaned off of it. It didn't ruin my 8-track tape, which I appreciate. My goodness, that didn't sound too good. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I feel like all of the parts are there. Like, it's not missing anything. There's no broken belts necessarily. I feel like it just needs to be taken apart. It needs to be cleaned. I was hoping to record from the reel-to-reel onto the 8-track because that is one of the functions that it has. In its current status, or its current state, I feel like it's not ready to do that. We'll just get a marbly, warbly sounding recording at best. So I think we'll leave it there for today. I want this again at first look. I wasn't joking when I said I hadn't turned it on. I hadn't tested it. It does work. It needs a lot of love, but it does work. So let me know down in the comments below hints, tricks, tips, things you think that I should do. What I think I should do is open it up, check the belts, clean everything out with deoxit, put in some new lithium grease, white lithium grease, kind of give it a thorough cleaning, get in there and clean that 8-track head, etc., etc. But this is a fascinating unit. I'm still blown away by the fact this has an 8-track recorder built right into it. I don't know why that surprises me, considering a music device, a record player, a tape player, CD player, these days, it's pretty common for it to play a couple different formats. So I guess this shouldn't surprise me. But I never knew these existed, and sure enough, I'm learning more every single day. I think it's very cool, and I'm curious, so we'll do more shows on this. There's a lot more to explore here, including direct feed audio tests, microphone tests, making stereo recordings, etc., etc. Have you guys joined the Vinyl Nation yet? What is the Vinyl Nation, you say? Well, it's our membership program, and we do an extra show every week for members of the Vinyl Nation. They get to earn badges. They can use special little characters, emojis, and comments. And in the future, we're even going to do exclusive members-only chats and other cool benefits as well. If you want to be a part of that, especially the extra show a week, think about joining. There's a link in the description below. But my friends, I hope you enjoyed that show. That was a lot of fun. I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing because I've got that beautiful, the GX4000D from Akai. That's like sort of my number one. But this is awesome too. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Any suggestions? I don't know. I've got to think about something fun to do with it. Anyway, my friends, that's going to do it for today. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.